April 27th, 1982, my daughter Karen was murdered. She was my fourth child and my third daughter. She was 21 years old, left two sons. They were 2 and 3 at the time. She left an ex-husband to get away from an abusive behavior, come back home and start her life all over again. She didn't want to be on public aid anymore. She was looking for a knight in shining armor too, I think, somebody to take care of her. Her body was found on Tuesday, April 27th, at the reservoir in Livingston, Illinois. She had been kidnapped from the place where she worked. She had been driven about 8 miles. I'm sure everybody knows what a tire iron is, and she was hit in the skull 6 times with a tire iron, strangled and drowned. Nobody should have to die like that. Nobody. In the very beginning, probably for a good 10 years, I wanted to know why. Why would somebody do that? But I've never had an opportunity to ask the person who did it. Her boss called me that morning, Tuesday morning, asked me where she was. I thought she was upstairs sleeping, but she wasn't. He said, no, her car's up here in front of the bar where she worked. So I went up there. Car was locked, which was very unusual. Nothing was out of place. I called the Illinois State Police. They came out. They were not going to put it out on the radio for 48 hours because she was an adult. And he asked me, he said, do you think there was foul play? I said, yes. The food I made her the night before was still in the refrigerator. My sweater was still in the car. The car was locked, just all kinds of things. So he said that he would put it out. He was the first person who did something for me in the criminal justice system. Sometime that day, the Illinois State Police came out, said they would find her. I told them, no, something happened to her. I thought she was dead. I said, don't talk like that. My husband and my son-in-law came home, and they decided to go look for her. Where are you going to go? Well, we don't know, but we're going to go look for her. They found her. Some farmer came into this small bar and said they found a lady in the reservoir. My husband said he knew it was her. And he went up there, and the upper half of her body was in the water. The bottom half was on the side of the reservoir. He sat there next to her for 3 hours while they investigated the crime. He begged and pleaded with them to please put a blanket on her, and they kept saying, we can't, it's a homicide. That picture never left his mind. I know it. I know it. That was Tuesday. On Friday, they finally released her body. We had the wake. The state police came in and said they caught the guy. First thing I wanted to know is, are you sure? He said, yes. I've never doubted him since then. We were fortunate enough that we went to trial right away. They found him guilty, sent him to prison for 50 years. And I thought, maybe I can get on with my life now, which I didn't even know what that meant, but I wanted to do something different than just cry all the time. I wanted to get my grandkids and just start over again. And the prosecutor said, you're going to hear from him in about 3 years. Why? Because he'll appeal, and that's when they'll hear it. So almost 3 years to the day, there was a little note in the paper, and sure enough, they threw everything out. We had to start all over again. So the following, let's see, that was somewhere around in May. In January, we went to, his attorney had sent the blood work to California trying to find a mistake because that's what he got convicted on. Karen had an extra enzyme in her blood that thousands of other people don't have. And I don't know if people know this, but when you go to court, you can't say it's your blood or her hair. You can say it's like hers, but you can't actually say it's hers. But that's what they convicted him on. They convicted him on the blood. And for a whole year, his attorney tried to find something wrong with it. Finally, at the end of the year, the judge said, this is enough, we're going to trial. His attorney came to the prosecutor and said, we want to make a deal. He'll admit he murdered her for 25 years. So they left it up to me. So I was afraid he was going to walk out the door. So I agreed. The judge asked him probably 50 different questions, and 3 times he asked him if he murdered this woman. He said yes. But he never did say why. So he went back to prison. But the one thing they didn't tell me, in the state of Illinois at that time, for every day you were in prison, you got 1 day off for good behavior. So he actually only spent 12 and a half years in prison and walked out a free man. Don't shake your head, because that's really true. It's very, very difficult.